On a chilling night, January 21st, 2006, the police department received a distress call from a concerned friend. She reported that her friend, Rachel Entwistle, was missing. Racing against time, police officers reached the Entwistles' home. What awaited them was a horrifying revelation. Rachel and her baby daughter, Lilian, were dead, hidden beneath a pile of bedding. However, Rachel's husband, Neil, was nowhere to be found. Everything was a mess and deeply disturbing. This marked the start of the investigation into the brutal murder, guided by a single burning question: who was the killer? Neil Entwistle belonged to a humble background and grew up in Worksop in a working-class family. His dad was a coal miner, and his mom worked as a school canteen cook. He was studying electronic engineering at the University of York when he met Rachel Souza, an American student. They fell in love and got married in Plymouth on August 23, 2003. Soon they had a beautiful daughter named Lilian on April 9, 2005. At the time, Neil worked in computing while Rachel taught English, drama, and theater studies at a school in Redditch. They later moved to the US, initially staying with Rachel's family before getting their own place. On the surface, they seemed to have it all: a good life, with stable jobs and a family. However, as the saying goes, things aren't always as they seem. On the evening of January 21st, police officers went to the Entwistles' home after Rachel's friend reported her missing. The initial search didn't reveal anything suspicious. However, a more thorough inspection the next evening uncovered a horrifying scene. The bodies of 27-year-old Rachel and 9-month-old Lilian were hidden under a pile of bedding in the master bedroom.
So I reached out and lifted up the comforter and looked. I saw her foot.
This tragic discovery took place on January 22, 2006, in the family's rented home where they had been living only for 10 days. Autopsy results later revealed that Rachel died from a gunshot wound to the head, and baby Lilian from a gunshot wound to the torso. The small bullets used were so tiny that the one in Rachel's head went unnoticed until the autopsy. It was a nightmare.
The whole family could have been murdered. We felt we should search the rest of the house to see if Neil's body was somewhere in there.
But here's the fishy part. Neil Entwistle, the husband and father, was nowhere to be found. It turns out that just hours after his wife and daughter died, Neil bought a one-way ticket to London around 5 a.m. on January 21st. He hopped on a British Airways flight that left Boston at 8:15 a.m. His quick departure from the crime scene raised a lot of suspicion.
State police ran some of the flight manifests to find out, is he still in Logan Airport? Did he get on a flight? Within a few hours, we had discovered that he had flown back to London Saturday morning.
On January 23rd, a Massachusetts state police officer called Neil at his parents' home in Worksop. During the 2-hour conversation, Neil told the officer that on the morning of the murders, he left his home around 9 a.m. to run an errand. According to him, his wife and daughter were both alive and well in their bed when he left. But when he returned around 11 a.m., he claimed to find them shot dead, and he had no clue who did it. So he covered their bodies with a blanket and got so upset that he thought of ending his own life, but couldn't do it with a knife. Instead, he drove to the Matarazzo's house to get a gun. Since the house was locked, he decided to fly back to England to see his parents. But the police weren't buying Neil's story. Because if he found his wife and child dead, why didn't he inform the authorities? And if he had decided to kill himself, why did he change his mind so quickly? Because he was very much alive while talking to the police. His actions and the entire timeline did not match the investigation findings either. Neil was definitely hiding something, and he quickly became the person of interest.
Her family had welcomed Neil Entwistle into the fold of their lives very readily, and they accepted him and loved him.
The investigations unveiled many horrifying details. Neil Entwistle's DNA was discovered on the handle of a .22 handgun that belonged to his father-in-law, Joseph Matarazzo. He had told the authorities that he had only used the gun once months earlier at Matarazzo's shooting club. But the gun's muzzle had DNA matching that of his wife. Additionally, keys to the Matarazzo's house were found in the car Neil left at Boston's Logan International Airport. He had previously claimed that the house was locked. The police also ran through Neil's computer and uncovered troubling information. In the days leading up to the murders, he had visited a website that explained how to kill people and searched for escort services. It became clear he had murdered his family. But the question is, why? How could a man kill his own wife and infant child in cold blood? It turns out that beneath the facade of a stable life, Neil had been jobless since September 2005 and was in debt at the time of the murders. Although he claimed to have a monthly income of $10,000 from an offshore account set up by his previous employer in the UK, there was no such income or account. Neil was also over $30,000 in credit card debt, and eBay was investigating him for numerous fraudulent transactions. Authorities suspected a financial motive for the murders. The police pieced together a timeline of the tragic events. On Thursday night, January 19th, 2006, Rachel was alive and talking to her family. Then, sometime on Friday morning, it is believed that Neil Entwistle got a gun from his father-in-law, Joseph Matarazzo, and killed his wife and child. He then returned the gun to their home and fled the scene. There is a possibility that Neil intended this to be a murder-suicide, but it is uncertain, because the murder occurred, but the suicide did not take place. Before we continue, make sure to click the subscribe button to stay in the loop on cases that have haunted people's minds for decades. On February 8th, 2006, just a week after their funerals, Entwistle was arrested by London police at Royal Oak Station. His trial for 2 murders started on June 2nd, 2008. On June 25th, 2008, he was declared guilty of all charges and got life imprisonment without parole. He was given 2 life sentences for the murders, along with probation for gun charges. First, he went to Sosa Baranowski Correctional Center, where he got tricked into shaving his head, thinking it would help him secure protection from a gang. But instead, the gang threatened to kill him. So, he was put in protective custody and later moved to Old Colony Correctional Center in Bridgewater in December for safety reasons. Do you believe in karma? His parents, however, still believe he's innocent, blaming Rachel for their murders. They think he'll be cleared and released eventually. Entwistle's mother even said after the trial, "The evidence points to Rachel murdering our grandchild and then committing suicide."
We know that our son Neil is innocent, and we are devastated to learn that the evidence points to Rachel murdering our grandchild.
Do you believe her? Or do you think she's just a mother trying to hide her son's wrongdoing? Share your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.